Yo, how's it going, everybody? My name is Jerome, and welcome to the channel. I hope you all are having a wonderful day. And first and foremost, I just want to say that this video is going to be a long one. It's going to be pretty long. Basically, I'm just going to talk about my weekend. It has a pretty starts off pretty good, then it gets bad, but then it ends really good. So, anyways, so if you do enjoy the video, like and subscribe, like always. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, this past weekend, on Saturday, I went to a regionals in West Virginia, Morgantown. It's about a 6-hour drive from where I was, and so decided to go to it. Why not? It was me, my girlfriend, and our daughter that went with us, and then my buddy traveled with me as well, but he took his own car and he was pretty much just followed me. So, anyways, the trip was pretty good. The ride there was pretty funny for me because my girl was tripping the entire time when we were in the mountain areas because she's not used to that kind of I guess terrain and whatnot, and I was fine the entire time. But other than that, that was pretty much the highlight of the driving. Other than that, it was pretty boring. I mean, you couldn't really see anything because we left at like maybe 2 a.m. Yeah, we left at like 2 a.m. So it was pretty dark, can't see anything. Anyway, so we eventually get to West Virginia around, I want to say around 8, like right when they were about to basically start registering for the tournament or whatnot. So get there, it's in a mall. Couldn't figure out how to get inside the mall because all the main doors were locked except for the back door. So we were allowed to go in through the back door, which were in the store. And we're like, okay, cool. This is pretty cool. Nice little theme they got going on. Yada, yada, yada. And then I noticed something. I was like, this is a very small, like, regionals. There's not that many tables. And I'm just kind of, like looking around. I'm like, there's not that many people. There's not that many cars here. There's not that many people. Normally when you go to regionals, at least the ones that I go to, it's normally packed. It's normally slam packed. There's a lot of people. There's probably a huge line of people waiting to get in and stuff. So it's kind of odd, and I was warned prior to going to this one. A friend of mine at one of the locals I go to, he said, yeah, it's pretty shady there. So I didn't listen to him. So I just said, I'm still going to go to it. It is what it is. So I went there and yeah, looking around, not that many people. My friend's just sitting here and he's like, yeah, not that many people, compared to all the stuff you told me and stuff like that. It might be a little shady. And I was like, I'm getting that feeling, but it's whatever. I'm not gonna let it get to me and whatnot. So the deck that I was running was Bysteel or Bysteel branded, however you want to pronounce it. I decided to play that because I had a lot of fun with it over the week and stuff like that. So, and I felt really confident with the combos and stuff like that. And I was doing a very specific combo that could pretty much dodge a lot of the it didn't really dodge any big problems. But the thing is, like, it is a very simple board, but like it makes your opponent, it makes it really hard for them to play the game, essentially. But it's a very simple board. Anyways, so I decided to play the deck because I was enjoying it. So tournament starts. Now the tournament only has about, I think, 106 people or 109 people, something between there. I barely could hear the person talking because their microphone was horrible at the very beginnings, and so I couldn't hear them, but I definitely know that it wasn't more than 110 people, which this is by far the smallest regionals I have ever been to. Normally the regionals I have always went to was at least over 200 people. So this one, less than that, it was kind of weird. And I was like, why is no one here? Now I do understand that Pasadena was going on, but at the same time, normally, like I said, normally there's like at least 200 people. And I have been to regionals before where it was a YCS and there was over like 300 people that went to it. So it was kind of weird, but I was like, whatever, so the very first round, it was a repairing. So I was just like, all right, that's, here we go, but it's whatever. So repaired up, yada, yada, yada. Round one, pretty much I ended up winning it. And I was like, okay. And I felt good about it. Opponent was cool and everything. So going into round two, ended up winning again, and it was another cool opponent, stuff like that. Now in round three, this is where things start to go downhill and they never go back uphill from here. So in round three, I ended up matching someone. Don't remember the person's name. I'm not going to give out the person's name even if I did remember it, but I ended up matching him, and he was not a pleasant guy to play against whatsoever. I mean, he was a prick. All right, I'm gonna say he was an asshole. The entire time he was just a complete asshole for no reason. He was rule sharking. He was just, I don't know what he had, man. I don't know what he had against me or anything. I didn't do anything wrong to the dude, but the entire time he was just upset playing against me. Apparently he said I was playing a stall burn deck, which it's not. It's Bastille branded. I don't know where he gets the stalling part from. Yeah, burns because it plays like, like Masquerade, but what branded deck doesn't play Masquerade? So I don't know what was his problem. I didn't feel like playing against him anymore because he was just being like a complete ass the entire time. So I pretty much just scooped to him in game 1 because I was like, I just want to get away from this dude. I don't care. He can have the win. So then game 2, I pretty much just bricked, and I was just like, yeah, you got it. Like he's playing a Shizu tier. That's the crazy thing. He's playing a Shizu tier, and he is the one that's upset. And I don't know what was his problem, but anyways, I just know that I wanted to get the freaking game over with and just get up and get far away from this guy. So I did just that. Scoop, whatever, signed the slip, got up, and I was like, I just want to get the hell out of this place. So, I went walking around with my buddy, talking, chit-chatting. And then, now this is where things get really shady. So the next round 4, so I'm 2-1 going into round 4. I sit down, and my opponent, he's a really cool guy. Man, I'm glad I met this dude. He's really cool. So we're sitting there chit-chatting and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden they say round 4, you may begin. About to roll the dice, and all of a sudden a judge comes up and he's like, hey, deck check. Okay, cool, no problem. Both of us had to turn in our decks. Nothing new to me. This is probably like the 5th or 6th deck check I've ever had. Going to events, and every time, not a problem, right? Nothing ever happened at all. So about 10 minutes pass by, they come back and they hand my opponent his deck, and they're like, hey, you're good to go. And then he comes walking around the table, and I'm like, all right. Instantly I was like, here we go, here's the bullshit, here he comes. So the judge comes to me and he's just like, yeah, you got to immediately replace these 3 cards. The 3 cards that he told me that I need to replace were D-Shifter, D-Shifter, and D-Shifter. All 3 D-Shifters in my deck, he said, were stackable. Apparently every time he cut my deck, it was immediately showing a D-Shifter, and I said, how is that possible? His response is, it's probably the sleeves. And I said, that's not the case. It was like, there's no way that's even possible because these are brand new sleeves. Just bought them. I just sleeved them up. Last night or yesterday or whatnot. I was like, these are brand new sleeves. Every one of these are in the same sleeve. I even took the D-Shifter, took the whole deck, shuffled it, laid out the entire deck, and I told my opponent, can you notice a difference between any of these sleeves? I was like, I want you to pick the D-Shifter. He picked out random cards, never hit a single D-Shifter. The judge couldn't tell a difference in any of the sleeves. They're all colored the same sleeve, the same thing. They all were from the same packet of sleeves. So I don't know what he meant by they're probably different sleeves. So put them all together, put them all together in a clump. Like, I don't know, I'm just going to use this for an example. It's just random pile of commons that I have here. So I just put all my deck together like this, and I pretty much just looked at it from the side, felt it, and everything was the same. There was no grooves or nothing like that. They were just perfectly soft. I even handed the deck to the judge, and he looked down and he was like, yeah, it's probably just the moisture. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? So I was like, all right, okay, so what do you want me to do? And he was like, well, you need to replace these three cards, which is kind of fucked up that how he went about it, because he pretty much told my opponent exactly what cards they were. So kind of gave him a hint at, I guess a hand trap that I'm running. So I was like, what are you doing, dude? You pretty much giving this guy information stuff. At this point, I don't even care, because I'm really pissed off at the fact that he this is even happening when it's the same sleeves and everything. And then he starts saying that, okay, it's probably the card itself, the thickness of the card. But the thing is that I got all 3 D-Shifters from 3 different people, right? And I had these for a very long time. And so I'm just like, there's no way that it's just the thickness of the card, because these 3D shifters came from 3 different people. So I'm pretty sure they came from 3 different like boxes and everything. So how is it that these 3 specific D shifters are thicker than any other card in my deck, which makes no sense. It gets even deeper. So he told me that I had to immediately replace them, and I'm getting a game loss because of it. So I said, whatever, dude. So he leaves. My buddy comes up and he's like, hey, I have 3 D shifters, the ultra rares, because I have the original ones from that are, I don't know what set it is, but there's the secret rare ones. He comes up and he has the new reprinted ones from the Megatins, and I said, sure, here you go. Switch them out, started playing. But at this point, I just didn't really care. Funny enough, when I opened up my hand, the 5th card was a D shifter, and I was like, oh wow. When I just activated it just for shits and giggles. My opponent was playing Flanders, so it didn't even matter. But anyways, I pretty much just gave him the game. I could have played, but I was just too upset at what happened, so I just pretty much just said, you got it, bro, you're a cool guy, you know, you can have the win and stuff like that. You know, it is what it is. Like, obviously some shady shit's going on. I don't know what's happening, but yeah, I'm gonna go talk to the head judge. So that's what I did. I went right to the head judge, waited around for a little bit, then he finally showed up, and I talked to him, and I was like, hey man, the judge pretty much said that he deck checked me, and he said that my 3D shifters are stackable. Now get this, I have not switched I haven't switched my buddy's D shifters in my deck out for my original ones yet. So I have them out in the deck box, but I took my whole deck out that still has my buddy's D shifters in. So, you know, the head judge looks at the sleeves, inspects all of it. I didn't change the sleeves out. The sleeves are still exactly the same. He looks at my deck, turns it sideways, feels the grooves, and he's like, yeah, I don't see a problem with it. And he like looks, doesn't see a different in color in any of the sleeves. They all feel exactly the same. So he's like, yeah, I don't see a problem with it. So he's like, who's the judge? And I was like, yeah, it's that one right there. So he tells him to come over, and he's like, oh yeah. So this guy had like the D shifters or whatever. I was like, okay, can you demonstrate, you know, how you found them? So he's like sitting there, and he's like, yeah. So, you know, he's like sitting there, and he's like shuffling the deck, right? And this is where me and my friend, right? My friend's standing on the other side, and I'm standing on this side, and the guy's standing like right in between us, kind of like facing like that way, like facing that way. And he's like taking my deck and he's shuffling it. So my friend is watching him, and I'm watching him, you know, and he's like sitting there, and you know, he just does it so shady, like, bro. He literally shuffles my deck. He looks down after he gets done shuffling. What he does is he takes my deck, right? So say if this is the deck, right? He's like sitting there and he's shuffling it, yada yada yada. What he does is when he gets done shuffling it and he's trying to find the D shifter, he does like a terrible magic trick where he kind of bends the deck just so slightly to where he can see the front of the cards, right? And he runs his thumb across and tries to find it by like barely looking down. Then when he sees it, he tips the cards over, and he's like, oh, look at that, a D shifter. Like, that's basically how he found it. And when he did it the first time, I just looked at my friend. I just like this. I was like, my buddy did the same look, and I was just like, come on, man. I was like, do it again. So he does it again. Oh, look at that, a D shifter. And do it again. Does it again, stumbles across, finds another dude. I'm just like, yeah, this dude is like literally the worst magician right now. And it was funny because my friend literally sat there, and he cracked a little joke. He was like, man, you must be a wizard. I was just like, Jesus, like, it was so bad how this judge literally was faking it. I don't know why he did this, but he literally faked it to just seem like he was finding the D shifters. Now get this, it gets even better. So those D shifters, right? Remember, those D shifters in my deck currently are my friend's D shifters that I switched out because he told me to. This dumbass didn't even realize that those D shifters that he kept picking out were a different rarity than the ones that he said previously when he did the deck check. So this idiot literally didn't even catch that. And my buddy was like, it's kind of funny how you keep hitting those D shifters when those are completely different ones. And he stopped and he was like, it's probably the sleeve then. And I'm like, no, the head judge already looked at it and he said the sleeves were fine. And then he put it together, and he looked at it and he was like, oh, and I looked at it and I was like, yeah. I was like, there's no difference. There's no color difference. There's no size difference. There's no blemishes, nothing. So, these are brand new, just put on. What is this guy talking about? So he calls in the other guy that he claims, it's like another judge that he claimed also had the same thing where he shuffled my deck and he found my D shifter. So we told him to do it. So he shuffles the deck, cuts my deck. Oh, he didn't find a D shifter. He shuffles, cuts it again, doesn't see a D shifter. So what does he do? He just hands the deck back to the other judge and he just walks off. And I was just like, this is some shady shit. I was like, this dude right here, this fucking judge is just out to get people like game losses for like no reason. And he sits there and he tries to give me his whole little rundown, his whole little, I don't know, his career of being a judge. He's like, yeah, I've been doing this for like 12 or 13 years and I'm really good at this, so I know what I'm doing. I judge at major events. I just judged at the nationals, and when I was there, I got 45 people doing the same thing, and I was like, that's nothing to brag about, bro. Like, you're giving out game losses that are not even deserving. Like, what the fuck are you on? So at this point, I'm ignored by this guy. I'm just like, give me back my shit. So I just grabbed my stuff, and I just walked off with my friend. And my buddy literally said the same thing. He was like, yeah, when he was shuffling your deck and he was like going through it, he was just like doing this stupid thing where he'll tilt your deck, look at all your cards, and then stop right on a D shifter, not even knowing that those were not even the same D shifters. So he looked like a complete fucking fool when we found out that basically he was lying the entire goddamn time. I don't know why he targeted me, why he wanted to give me a game loss or anything like that. It was very strange and very weird. It gets even deeper. In the same round, my same friend that went with me, he sits down. He sees the pairings. He sits down. His opponent comes up and he sits down. They both verify because they have it on the TV screens of the matches of where the tables and everything you're supposed to sit at. So they both look at the screen. He looks. He sees his name. He sees a table, and he sees his opponent's name. Sees a table. He even says his opponent's name. And the guy says, "Yeah." He says his name back, and he's like, "Yeah, that's me. We're at table, yada yada. Yep, that's us. Cool. All right. Round 4, you may begin." They come around, they pass out the little slips. Well, as they're like midway through the duel, they notice that my buddy's name is on the slip, but his opponent's name isn't on the slip. So then they call the judge over, like you're supposed to, and he says, "Hey, my name's not on the slip, but I'm at my right table because on the screen, on the pairings, it says I'm at table." So let's just say it's table 20, right? And he's like, "Hey, on the screen, that's my name, table 20. This is table 20. I'm sitting at my table, but my name isn't on the slip." Well, my buddy's name was on the slip, and he's at table 20, so he's at the right thing. And the judge was like, well, since your name is on the slip and yours isn't, you get a game loss. You get a whole match loss. So the guy gets a whole match loss for their fuck up. So I can't be making this up. The dude literally got a whole match loss because whoever printed out the fucking slips put someone else's name there instead of his, where he's supposed to be at, and he gets a whole match loss because of it. Doesn't get a game loss, doesn't get a reprint of the paper that has his name on it. No, fuck that. That's just too much work. You just get a whole match loss, dude. So that was two shady things that happened in the same round, and I was just like, bro, I was like, this is why only 100 people showed up to this fucking terrible place. It's like, because this place, whoever, like, these guys don't know what the fuck they're doing. So the next round happens. At this point, I just don't even give a shit. Like, I'm just like, I'm just here because I'm here to support my friend. He's actually doing pretty good for his first regionals ever. He's doing pretty good. So I'm like, I'm here to support him. At this point, I'm just giving out free wins. So sit down, and I'll literally just from here on out, I'm just chit-chatting with all my opponents. So I sit down, and I'm just having, like another great guy that I matched, and I'm just coking and joking with him and stuff like that. It was funny because he was playing sprites, and he summoned Beaver and summoned another Nimble Beaver, and he overlaid and he made Toad, and I was like, can't do that. They're like, it's gotta be Aqua, and he was like, oh my god, bro, I've been doing this entire tournament, and I was like, no, dude. So it was pretty funny. We had a great time. He deserved the win and everything, so it's all good. During that round, I did not know this until after that round, and I was like sitting there chit chatting with my boys, a person that we made friends with came up, and he was like, "Yo, did you see what happened to another guy at the top tables?" I was like, "No, what happened?" And they're like, "That same judge that got you, that basically gave you a game loss for that stupid reason, just got another person to leave." And I was like, "What do you mean?" They were like, "Well, they did the deck check on them, and he picked out 3 cards from his deck, the same 3 cards, which were the Prime Evil Planet card for the tier limits, the field spell card. All 3 of them he picked from that person's deck." And he was like, said the same shit to him, saying that they're stackable, that every time he cut the deck, he just so happened to hit it. And you know, he apparently the guy asked him, "So what do you want me to do?" And he said, "You're gonna have to replace these." And he said, like, how? Like, where am I gonna go find 3? And he was like, "Well, just go buy them." The dude was like, "Buy them? These motherfucking things are gonna cost me like over $200. I'm not about to go fucking buy 3 more of these. For what? What is that gonna change? It's the same card." This fucking judge is literally giving people game losses for something that they have no control over. The thickness of the card, how is that my fault? How is it that guy's fault? How is it your fault? How is it anyone's fault that if it's somehow the thickness of the damn card, right? That's Konami's fault. That's not our fault. It just got printed that way. I could buy a random card off of someone on the internet, and it comes to me. How is it my fault that Konami made it a tad bit thicker? And fun fact, none of these cards are thicker, right? When you put them up to each other, right? When I put my D shifter up to the other D shifter, 2 different kind of prints, put them up, they're the same thickness, right? It doesn't even I don't know what this guy was on, but so the guy got upset and he just picked his cards up and he left. He was at the top tables. He just said, "Fuck it." He left. He said, "I'm done with this regionals," you know, because he's not going to be able to play if he can't get 3 more copies of that card. Who there is going to just willingly give him 3 copies of the card? That card's expensive. No one's going to do that, right? Unless he has friends that have it. So he did the same thing I would have did. I would just got up and just fucking left. So that was the next shady thing. At this point, I just said, "I'm out." So I just dropped out of the tournament. I was like, you know, I'm gonna sit here and support you, dog, but I don't want nothing to do with this fucking place ever again. So, you know, my boy's playing. He's doing great. But he ends up losing in the last round. So he dropped out and he was just like, you know, "Let's get the fuck out of here." So he pretty much just immediately just turns around and just drives 6 hours back. Me, I'm just like, "Nah, I'm gonna take a nap, wake up in the morning, and drive back." So that's what I did. Came back, you know, thank God I'm out of that freaking place. I'm never going back. And I hope, like, that place is shady. If you ever see a regionals in Morgantown, West Virginia, it ain't it. I'm telling you, it ain't it. Those judges are fucking kind of like, I think the head judge was cool. That guy was cool. And I think there was 2 other judges that were also cool. But there was 2 very specific judges that are shady as fuck. I wouldn't trust them. I wouldn't ever do that shit again. Not worth it. But the story does get great because, like I said, the very next day I came back home, everything chilled out. Pretty much just took my sprite deck and just made Bastille sprites. And then I went to a Winterbox tournament and I ended up getting first place and I ended up winning. So I will be doing a deck profile of that tomorrow. So I can show you guys basically what it looked like. I'm also going to be doing a Bastille branded deck profile because out of that Winnet box I actually ended up pulling another Libellion, which is my second copy, a Fenrir and a Unicorn. A pretty busted box, man. So that's why my weekend went from terrible to just awesome. Like it just got perfect after that, just because I didn't even plan on winning the Winner box. I honestly just went to have fun, and I actually ended up winning the event and pulling that go to cards, which was great. So yeah, sorry it took. Damn, this video is going on for over 24 minutes. Sorry it's taking so long. I'm going to try to dish out more videos. It's been really hard to do it. I've been really busy and everything lately, but bear with me. I will try to make more deck profiles. This Yuzu tier era that we're in right now is very, very boring, and I'm pretty sure some of you have seen the Pasadena gameplay, and yeah, it doesn't look like fun, right? It's pretty bad, but we're gonna get through it together. You know, it's gonna be like a long 2 months, but we'll survive. Anyways, I appreciate you guys for stopping by and watching the video. Like I said, tomorrow I'm gonna be doing a deck profile, and hopefully I'll see you guys there. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and peace.